welcome to this explainer. Look, upsizing your home is an incredibly exciting prospect, right? The promise of more room for a growing family, a dedicated home office, or finally getting that bigger kitchen, it's absolutely intoxicating. But let's be real, it's also a massive undertaking. It's like a giant puzzle with a ton of moving parts that have to align perfectly. So, we're going to dive straight into this chronological playbook to make sure your transition into a larger home is as seamless and stress-free as humanly possible. Let's get into it.
But before we even touch on strategy or finances, we gotta stop and ask a pretty tough question. Do you genuinely need to upsize, or do you just want to? I know it sounds like a basic distinction, but I challenge you to take a hard look at your current living situation right now. Are you actually out of living space, or are you just lacking organization? A lot of homeowners feel cramped and frustrated, but it's not always because they lack square footage. Very often, it's literally just a poor furniture layout or a really inefficient use of the space they already have.
Think about it like this. You have to contrast a legitimate life change that absolutely demands space, like, say, having a new baby on the way while you're squeezed into a one-bedroom condo, with the harsh reality that some of us just have a spare bedroom that's slowly morphed into a storage unit. I mean, if your second bedroom is packed to the ceiling with old boxes, unused sports equipment, and random tools, your problem probably isn't a lack of space. You might just need to spend a weekend cleaning out that room. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with simply wanting a bigger home to hit a lifestyle goal, for sure. But being completely honest with yourself about your core motivation, well, that is step number one.
Okay, so to get you safely from where you are now to that beautiful larger home, we're going to follow this 5-step playbook. We'll cover needs versus wants, a financial reality check, choosing your strategy, prepping for the sale, and finally, making the winning offer.
All right, jumping right into section 1, needs versus wants. It's absolutely crucial to understand that a bigger home doesn't just mean more room to stretch out on the couch. It inherently brings more responsibilities. You're going to face higher property taxes, and your utility bills are going to be noticeably more expensive simply because there's way more space to heat and cool. Plus, you'll spend more time and money maintaining the property inside and out. So before you even open a real estate app, you've got to establish a realistic list of necessary features. This ensures you don't end up buying way more house than you actually need. Sit down, clearly define the number of bedrooms and bathrooms you'll really use. Like, if you have a growing family and plan on having just one more kid, a 3 to 4 bedroom cap is probably right on the money. Jot down specific lifestyle features. Do you literally need a larger garage or maybe a big yard with a barbecue pit? And don't forget the neighborhood amenities, proximity to schools, malls, or parks. Handing a super specific list of your realistic needs to your real estate agent makes the whole house hunting process incredibly efficient. Moving on to section 2, financial reality check.
Look, before you get totally carried away touring the biggest, nicest homes on the market, we have to look closely at the financial hurdles of upsizing. And I want to firmly warn you right now, how much home you can afford should never be determined by the maximum amount a mortgage lender is willing to give you. You should never, ever end up living house poor. If you're barely scraping by to make your monthly mortgage payments, even a tiny economic hiccup or illness could be disastrous. So to avoid that trap, rely on the 28-36 rule. It's a classic guideline used all the time by lenders and creditors to gauge a borrower's debt repayment capacity. Basically, it states that your household should spend a maximum of 28% of your gross monthly income on your total housing expenses. And you shouldn't spend more than 36% on your total debt repayments, which lumps in things like credit cards, student loans, and car payments right alongside your housing.
Let's actually put a real-world number to that rule to make it concrete. Let's say $1,680. If your household brings in a gross monthly income of $6,000, $1,680 is the absolute maximum monthly housing expense you can safely afford to stay within that 28% threshold. Keeping this basic foundational math at the forefront of your mind guarantees you're shopping for a home that actually enhances your financial life over the long term, rather than choking it.
You also absolutely need to factor in your down payment, which scales based on the value of the larger property you're targeting. Typical down payment requirements are usually tiered, so you're generally looking at 5% down for the portion of a home under $500,000, 10% for the portion between $500,000 and $1 million, and a full 20% for any amounts over $1 million. When you're making the jump into a much higher price bracket, you really have to calculate whether the equity you've built up in your current home is going to fully cover those significantly larger down payment thresholds. And please, whatever you do, don't forget the hidden closing costs. These are the specific financial hurdles that almost always catch eager buyers totally off guard. When you're planning out your upsizing budget, you literally have to account for things like property transfer taxes, legal fees, and home inspection costs. These extra expenses can easily range anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000, depending on your area and the specific property. Factoring these in right from the jump means you aren't going to be scrambling for cash on closing day.
Okay, let's head into section 3, choosing your strategy. You know, when you already own real estate, moving isn't just about buying a new house. It's about safely and carefully sequencing the sale of your old home and the purchase of your new one. Getting this sequence wrong can really put you in a bind. You might end up without a place to live or forced to take on some massive, incredibly stressful financial risk. So, option A is your conservative route. You sell first, then buy. The big pro here, you know exactly how much cash you have, which makes you a super strong buyer. The con? Well, you'll very likely need to find temporary housing and stick your life in storage for a bit. Then there's option B. Buy first, then sell. The pro is a wonderfully smooth, direct transition for your family straight from one house to the next. But the con is that it usually requires expensive bridge financing and carries the heavy financial risk of holding 2 mortgages at once. Yikes. And finally, option C, the simultaneous transaction, where you close both homes on the exact same day. While option C is often considered the absolute holy grail, the best case scenario, it is highly, highly complex. It requires perfectly aligned dates and using the exact same escrow company for both transactions to make sure funds transfer seamlessly. It requires a massive amount of professional coordination.
Next up is section 4, prepping for the sale. So no matter which of those 3 strategies you end up choosing, you still have to actually sell your current place. And getting your home ready early, like long before you even list it on the market, can secure a much more favorable sales price, maximizing the funds you have for your upsize. So follow this exact physical checklist. Step 1, declutter, deeply clean the interiors, and depersonalize the space. Take down those family photos so buyers can actually envision themselves living there. Step 2, finally fix that delayed handyman work you've been putting off for years. Just get it done. Step 3, get your own home inspection done early so you know exactly what hidden issues exist before a buyer finds them. And step 4, hire professional staging. You really want to tackle all of this proactively. The last thing you want is a buyer's inspector finding an issue later, giving them the leverage to force you to drop your asking price by 50 grand right at the negotiation table. No, thank you.
And that brings us to section 5, making the winning offer. All right, your home is prepped, your sequence strategy is locked in, and your budget is set in stone. This is the moment you actually secure that dream upsize. But doing so requires you to smartly navigate current market conditions and really understand the strategic use of contract contingencies. Your approach is going to rely heavily on the time of year you're buying. If you're entering a spring or summer market, you're going to see a beautifully increased inventory of homes, but you're also going to face very heavy buyer competition. You'll need to act incredibly fast and make highly competitive offers with fewer conditions. On the flip side, if you're looking in the fall or winter market, there will definitely be less inventory to choose from, but you'll likely face far less competition. That gives you much better negotiating opportunities and the breathing room to actually take your time.
Now, one of the biggest tools in your negotiation tool belt is the contingent offer. This basically means you write an offer on your dream home that is completely dependent upon you successfully selling your old home first. And while a contingent offer beautifully protects you, the buyer, from ending up with 2 mortgages, you really have to look at it from the seller's perspective. It's significantly more attractive to a seller if your current home's transaction is already in escrow with a buyer lined up and waiting to close, rather than your home just simply sitting on the market hoping for a bite. Think about it. Coordinating temporary housing, navigating multiple competing offers, handling the stress of bridge financing, perfectly timing simultaneous closes. There are just a tremendous amount of moving parts here. And that's exactly why I want to highlight this quote from the source material. A great real estate agent can help you go into the process more confidently through the ups and downs you will inevitably encounter. This whole process isn't just about someone unlocking doors for you at weekend viewings. It's about having a trusted, experienced professional in your corner to manage an incredibly complex logistical and financial transition on your behalf. Which brings us to the very end of our playbook, and actually loops us right back around to our original dilemma. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on today. Are you truly fully prepared to tackle the massive financial and logistical puzzle of upsizing? Or is it maybe time to just buy a few organization bins, do some deep cleaning, and simply declutter the home you already have? Take a long look around your house today and decide what your next move really needs to be. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Whether you decide to hit the real estate market or just hit the storage room, I wish you the absolute best of luck.